For centuries they were hunted, tortured, burned alive, fed to the lions for the entertainment of emperors. The early Christians knew suffering, and they bore it with unwavering faith. But then something changed. When the Roman Empire embraced Christianity, the persecuted became powerful, and for some, power meant vengeance. Once the faith of martyrs, Christianity now had emperors, bishops, and armies enforcing its will. Pagan temples were destroyed, philosophers were silenced, and those who opposed the new order found themselves on the receiving end of the same brutality once suffered by the first Christians. In Alexandria, a brilliant philosopher named Hypatia fell victim to a Christian mob, her demise marking a symbolic shift. The faith of love had taken up the sword. Was this what Jesus intended? How did the persecuted church become a persecutor? And what does this mean to Christians today? This is a story of faith, power, and the dangers of losing sight of the Gospel's true message. Stay with me as we uncover the shocking history of how Christianity went from persecuted to persecutor. For centuries, Christians were the outcast. They were hunted, the ones who live in the shadows, hiding from an empire that saw them as dangerous and subversive. From Nero's brutal spectacles to Diocletian's empire, wide purges, countless believers were crucified, burned alive, or torn apart by wild beasts, all for refusing to bow to the gods of Rome. But then something unimaginable happened. The persecuted faith became the imperial faith. In 313 AD, Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity, and by 380 AD, under Theodosius I, Christianity was declared the official religion of the Roman Empire. The old temples were shuttered, pagan sacrifices were outlawed. The religion of the cross has become the religion of the empire. That is the Roman Empire. From a startling paganism, now they embraced Christianity in all of the Roman Empire. Christianity is now the religion. And in this transformation, something darker took root. The oppressed became the oppressors. And one of the most chilling examples of this shift was the brutal unaliving of Hypatia of Alexandria. Alexandria was one of the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world. It was home to scholars, philosophers, and the legendary Library of Alexandria. And at the heart of this intellectual movement was Hypatia, a brilliant philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer. Hypatia was no ordinary woman in a time when few women had access to higher education. She rose to become the head of the Neoplatonist school in Alexandria. She taught philosophy and science to pagans and Christians alike, earning respect across religious divides. But her influence would soon make her a target. In 1412 AD, a new bishop took power in Alexandria. Cyril, an ambitious and uncompromising Christian leader, he saw the remaining pagans and those who opposed his authority as enemies of the faith. Meanwhile, the city's Roman governor, Orestes, sought to maintain balance between Christians and non-Christians. Hypatia, a close advisor to Orestes and a respected intellectual, found herself caught in the middle of this dangerous power friction. Some of Cyril's followers accused Hypatia of using her influence to turn Orestes against the church. Rumors spread that she was a witch, a pagan, a corrupter, an enemy of Christ. And in the year 415 AD, a mob led by Peter Lector, a church official, decided to act. As Hypatia traveled through Alexandria, a violent Christian mob seized her. They dragged her from her chariot, stripped her naked, and pulled her into a church known as the Caesareum, once a pagan temple, now repurposed for Christian worship. There, inside the house of God, they beat her mercilessly. Some accounts say they flayed her skin with shards of broke pottery. Others say she was torn apart, her limbs ripped from her body. When the mob was finished, they burned what remained of her in a final act of desecration. The fate that once suffered at the hands of the powerful had now become the power. The Christians who had once been thrown to the lions were now the ones throwing others into the flames. Hypatia's unaliving was not an isolated event. It was a symbol of a larger transformation, a shift from a persecuted fate to one willing to persecute in the name of righteousness. From the destruction of pagan temples to the medieval Inquisition, from forced conversations to the wars fought in God's name, history is filled with moments where Christianity lost sight of its core message. But was this ever what Jesus intended? The Christ who taught love, forgiveness, and mercy, would he have condoned such brutality? Or did the church, in its rise to power, forget the very essence of its faith? History has lessons, but are we willing to listen? Are we willing to ask the hard questions about faith, power, and mistakes of the past? Because only by confronting history can we ensure that the church never loses sight of its true mission again. Join me as we explore this dark chapter of Christianity history. If this story challenges you, or if it makes you think, like, subscribe, and let us keep the discussion going. Because faith is too important to be built on ignorance.